Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome back to the middle of the order. And we're here with another TOP, last one today, and two more tomorrow. We're so close to wrapping these up and getting excited for the 2024 season. And today's team is your Philadelphia Phillies, and another great season for them in the books last year. We'll be talking about that and diving in to their 2024 because I do love these Phillies. Last year, they finished 90 and 72. They were 8th in runs for, 12th in ERA, and 12th in runs against. They finished 2nd in the NL East, 4th in the NL overall, and 8th in MLB. They were a playoff team. They were the 4 seed and hosted the Marlins in the 5th seed to the Wild Card Series, in which the Phillies took both of those games. The Bryson Stott Grand Slam still gives me chills. 2-0 there. They head to the NLDS, where once again they get the better of the Braves. In a 4-game series, Phillies take 3 games to 1. Head to the NLCS for the second straight year here, and unfortunately fall to the hands of the Diamondbacks in Game 7. They had they looked good early on, but the Diamondbacks had a fairy tale run and, took it to Game 7, where they did win that last game, knocking the Phillies out of playoffs, which means they will end up with the 27th pick in this year's MLB draft. So let's talk about who they added. Spencer Turnbull joins the bullpen, I guess is where he's going to be suited as. Whit Merrifield for some depth there. David Dahl's on a non-roster deal to see if he can make the team perhaps. And then, of course, the big news in Phillies camp, this spring training, was the re-signing of Aaron Nola. That's a huge thing, 7 years of him, your ace. And then the extension of Zach Wheeler for 3 years. Those are 2 huge moves for the Phillies to lock down their 1 and 2 starters for, another 3 years at least. So that's definitely what Phillies fans, I'm sure, are most happy about with this offseason. They did lose a couple players here. Craig Kimbrell, he's gone. Michael Lorenzen's gone. Corey Kniebel's out. And, of course, Rhys Hoskins, who, one of his last memories will be the bat slam against the Braves in the playoffs in 2022 because he didn't play in 2023. So, that's going to be the last, Phillies memory of him. He's heading to the Brewers. So that's a sad loss for Phillies fans, I'm sure. But that doesn't mean they don't have a bad team, because their team is very strong. Starting off with that rotation, it has Zach Wheeler listed as the 1 and Aaron Nola listed as the 2. Either way, whether it's Nola Wheeler or Wheeler Nola, whoever is the second guy is probably the best number 2 in baseball in my mind. This is probably one of the strongest, 1-2 duos in MLB, with the rotations. There are a lot of good rotations and a lot of good, 1-2 guys, but Wheeler and Nola are definitely up there for me as the best right now. Ranger Suarez takes the 3-hole. Heion Walker gets the 4th, and then Christopher Sanchez rounds off that rotation. There's some guys there. The bullpen's got Jose Alvarado now listed as the closer. He hasn't done that since his days with Tampa, I'm pretty sure. Jeff Hoffman, Gregory Soto, Seranthony Dominguez, Matt Strahm, Spencer Turnbull. So they have some names here to note. Soto and Strahm, those lefties alongside Alvarado. But of course, the Phillies are mashers. They finished 8th in runs for, and that's because they had a nice lineup. Leading things off is the designated hitter Kyle Schwarber. Batting second, shortstop Trey Turner. Batting third, first baseman Bryce Harper. The little experiment last year kind of worked off, and it looks like Bryce Harper is going to make the transition to first indefinitely, and he is going to be their first baseman going forward, not only this year, but possibly for the rest of his career. No longer a right fielder. Batting fourth, the catcher, JT Realmuto. Batting fifth, the second baseman, Bryson Stott. Third baseman batting sixth, it's Alec Boehm. Then in seventh in right field, Nick Castellanos. I mean, when he's right, to have a guy like him batting seventh is a little wild. The left fielder, Brandon Marsh, he bats eighth. And then Johan Rojas, the center fielder, batting ninth. The young kid there trying to figure it out on the batting side of things. It's a great lineup. That is to say the least. The bench has Garrett Stubbs listed as the backup catcher. Edmundo Sosa, Whit Merrifield, and Christian Pache make up the Phillies bench. Taking a look at injuries, they don't have anything to be worried about. Tayon Walker and Brandon Marsh do have some knee issues, knee soreness, and a knee surgery, a small one. So they should both be ready and on track for opening day. Tayon Walker should be, 100% good for opening day. Brandon Marsh, a little bit more question mark, but is still listed to be on that opening day roster and healthy, being the big key thing there. A look ahead, the free agents of the year, or after this year, Matt Strahm, Spencer Turnbull, and Jeff Hoffman are all coming off the books. And then Whit Merrifield and Sir Anthony Dominguez have club options. So depending on how they do here in 2024, the Phillies might keep them on, or they might say no thank you and send them to free agency. All right, let's talk these Phillies and the year that they had. They started off kind of cold, and it was kind of a slow start. A mediocre April, 15-13. Then they had the worst month in May where they won 10 games and lost 16, but then turned it around quickly in June where they won 18 games and only lost 8. They had a strong August to kind of cement everything with a 17-win, 10-loss month. And yeah, overall, they were very strong in a lot of categories, one-run games, blowouts. They were just doing it really well after that kind of slumpy May. So yeah, let's talk about some of these players here. Let's talk about the two-time MVP, Bryce Harper, making the transition, will be at first base indefinitely. Last year, he played first base, and he was a Silver Slugger and finished 12th in MVP voting. How about that? 126 games, 134 hits, 293 batting average, a 900 OPS, 21 home runs, and 72 RBIs. So yeah, this is a guy here who, let's see what happens now that he's at first base. He can kind of maybe have a little bit more, control hitting wise. I think it's going to be a fun move for him, and excited to see. Bryce Harper, where's third, is now the third guy on the team, essentially, when you think of, pitchers 1, catchers 2. I hope you guys understand that. But yeah, Bryce Harper, definitely the star, definitely the face of the franchise, and will help lead the Phillies to most likely another playoff berth, unless, things go really sideways. Kyle Schwarber, listed as the leadoff hitter, the two-time All-Star, and he, it's pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure, I forget the actual record, but I think he's the first hitter in MLB history to have 40-plus home runs and a batting average below 200. Last 2 years with Philly, 2022 and 2023, he has a combined 100, let me double-check that, a combined 93 home runs. In 2 years, 46 home runs in 2022, 47 home runs in 2023. His batting average this year, 197 and 817 OPS. Of those 47 home runs, 47 home runs, 115 hits, which means half the time nearly when he hits the ball, it leaves the yard. Pretty crazy numbers there. He's definitely kind of in his own realm, essentially, because how can you have a 197 batting average, a 218 batting average, and be as good as he does? Is because he hits the home runs, and he finds a way to do that still. So, I mean, as long as you got him, and he's a leadoff hitter too, which I find so unique because, the contact numbers are not there. The batting average is there. So it's like, oh, you jump off the game with a 1-0 lead home run, or he strikes out, or he walks. He does have some walk numbers last year, 126 walks to his name. But of course, power hitters, they strike out. That's why he has such a low average. He's led the league in strikeouts the last 2 years, 200 in 2022 and then 215 in 2023. So you definitely got to keep an eye out for that with Schwarber. But of course, they have another leadoff hitter, technically, that they could be using. He bats second. He plays shortstop. Two-time All-Star, Trey Turner. And I mean, you could throw me off by saying he's only a two-time All-Star. I'm surprised it's only been 2 years. He's been a great shortstop for a long time. Last year had a great year. 2022 had a great year. Last year, not so much. He was cold for a good 3-4 months of the season. There was kind of one of the stories with Phillies last year. And what they did was Philly fans went to, I think it was a game in August, and they gave him a standing ovation, his first at bat. He gave him a curtain call, and then proceeded later in the game to hit a home run. And from that moment on, Trey Turner was fixed. He was crushing the ball. His numbers were incredible. If you don't remember, he was actually my pick for NL MVP. He had such a strong showing in the World Baseball Classic, and then the regular season started, and he stunk up until those last 2 months. He was on fire and kind of turned his season around to having some decent numbers. 155 games, 170 hits, 26 home runs, 266 batting average, and a 778 OPS. Those numbers were a lot worse at the 4-month mark, but Philly fans getting that standing O, and it fixed him a little bit. So that was definitely a very special moment for him, Phillies fans, and just baseball in general last year. His first year in Philly, a little bit of a transition year. I'm sure this year will go a lot more smooth for Turner, hopefully, at the jump. And he'll start his 2024 campaign strong with a good month of April. He's definitely one of those guys to watch because when he is right, he is an exciting player. His slides are always amazing. Overall, just a great ball player to have in your lineup. JT Realmuto, we'll talk about here briefly. There was a point in time where he was probably the only great catcher in our game. Times have changed, but he is still considered one of the best catchers. Last year, 135 games, 123 hits, a 252 batting average, 762 OPS, and 20 home runs. Definitely kind of a down year for him when you look at his previous years, 2022, 2021 All-Star. Of course, 2022, he was a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger winner and finished 7th in MVP voting. Last year didn't have anything, no votes there, no top finishing, no Gold Gloves, no Silver Sluggers, and no All-Star appearance for him 2 years in a row now. So there's definitely a lot of good catchers, Will Smith, Gabriel Moreno, Sean Murphy, the three guys that kind of jumped to my mind there in the NL. But Realmuto is still, unique for his ability to be a great offensive catcher with great speed, and that's kind of one of those things. He managed that staff really well as well there, so, Philly fans lucky to have him, and definitely going to be, interesting to see how his 2024 develops. I mentioned Nicholas Castellanos, batting 7th. When he's right, he goes, man. He was an all-star last year. 157 games, 170 hits, 29 home runs, a 272 batting average, and a 788 OPS. I mean, he is good, man. He's fun. Obviously, some people remember him from his days with the Cubs, that 51-day span where he got traded and was just on fire, 1.002 OPS. He had a great year with the Reds in 2021. I mean, Castellanos has always put up some underrated numbers offensively. He's definitely better than, some of the numbers suggest. Obviously, when he is in a slump and he's struggling, he's tried a ton and he's not producing at his best. But when he's right, he's hitting deep drives to left, and he's definitely a guy that like to have as your 7 is very scary. I think the Phillies line is really built on a lot of those guys where it's like, yeah, when they're right, when Turner's right, when Realmuto's right, when Castellanos is going, be careful because any one of these guys can crush a ball. you've got that trio there of kind of young players that aren't that young anymore. Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm, and Bryson Stott, really. Brandon Marsh, 133 games, had his best OPS, 829, 277 batting average, 12 home runs, kind of a career year for him. And I mean, he's only 25, and I think there's still a high ceiling for him. I think he's going to get a lot more time. If he can figure out how to hit lefties and stay in the lineup for a full year, not have to platoon him, like, he can be a really great, left fielder, center fielder, wherever you want to use him. I love his swing. Obviously, gotta love his hair and beard. He's great that way. Bryson Stott, the young kid, the grand slam and the Marlins, with the great moment, the great walk-up song. He had his second year, sophomore year, improved on every aspect. Every number was just better. 151 games, 164 hits, 280 batting average, a 747 OPS. And, his third year coming up, I think he's going to just continue to improve, be one of those, great second basemen in our game right now. And, of course, Alec Boehm, definitely the guy out of these three who have been around the longest. And, he's had his slumps and his fair shares of issues. But I think he's starting to figure things out a little bit more each year, getting slightly better and better. 20 home runs for him last year in 145 games, 153 hits, a 765 OPS, 274 batting average. So, when you look at his 2022, all those numbers were improved. He had 7 more home runs. His OPS climbed by about 50 points, and hits weren't as much, but of course he played in 7 less games, and same for the average as well. But, Boehm is a guy there, third baseman, locks down the corner. Stott, definitely that rookie sophomore season was great. Go get a third year now. Brandon Marsh, love him too. Like, the lineup is great. There's a lot of great stuff to have. And, speaking of lineups and everything, or speaking of them, but we've talked a lot about the Phillies lineup here. Let's talk about that 1-2 punch that they got now. It's 3 years for Wheeler, 7 years for Nola. Lock them up because these guys are stars. Aaron Nola debuted in 2015, so he's entering his 10th year in the big leagues, 3 of which he finishes top 10 in Cy Young votings. Only 1 All-Star appearance. Nola always kind of starts the season a little bit on the slower side, but he turns things around towards the end of it, and, he's healthy. Last 3 years, or when's the last time Nola missed a game? 2023, 32 starts made. 2022, 32 starts made. 2021, 32 starts made. 2020, 12 starts made, but that was COVID year, so that makes sense. 2019, 34 starts made. 2018, 33 starts made. Like, he is there. He's healthy every 5 days. He goes out and gives it his all. And that's what you want from your ace, really. Like, he has not been hurt, doesn't miss a game, and he's primed for another strong season here. I think it's going to be a really good one for Nola, and possibly an even better one for his duo, Zach Wheeler, who we keep mentioning as, the supposed now ace 1-2 punch. Like, I don't know who's going to be rocking the pill day one, but Aaron Nola had a phenomenal, last 2-3 years. Since joining the Phillies, he's been amazing. His days with the Mets were good, but his Philly numbers have been so much better. He has aged like fine wine. Nicholas Castellano quote, by the way. 3.06 ERA in his 4 years with the Phillies. And he's just been great. Last year, a Gold Glove winner, finished 6th in Cy Young voting, 32 starts made, a 3.61 ERA, a 13-6 record, and 212 strikeouts. And he's only 2-3 years removed from his incredible 2021, where he had a 2.78 ERA, led the league in innings pitched with 213, had 2 complete game shutouts, and led the league in strikeouts with 247. This guy is great. Aaron Nola's great. That 1-2 punch is scary. The lineup's great. Like, it's hard to find some bad things with these Phillies. If you nitpick a little bit, the bullpen could be a little bit better. that end of rotation. Maybe you could have gone out, hey, Jordan Montgomery's still available, Blake Snell still available. I'm not saying that they're going to be great fits, but they are available. I think getting Michael Lorenzen, he's still a free agent. You can go and get him. I think you're one starting pitcher out just as a little bit of insurance. I don't know how much I'm going to trust Christopher Sanchez. Maybe he's the guy and shows up and surprises everybody. But yeah, overall, there's a couple like nitpicky details you can go and find. Hey, Whit Merrifield's on your bench. He had an okay season with the Blue Jays. Edmundo Sosa, Christian Pache, he's got speed. Like, even when you're trying to nitpick a little bit, Johan Rojas is a young kid, had a small appearance last year towards the end of the season, and, great defense, great speed, but the hitting numbers really weren't there. He can easily get that, easily find that. So, when you look through the Phillies lineup, 1 through 8 is great. The rotation is strong. Ranger Suarez is super underrated in my mind. So underrated, I completely forgot that I even wanted to talk about him a little bit. But, overall, the Phillies team is scary. There's one team that stands in their way, and even Phillies fans don't care about that team. Because, the Braves can go out and win 100 games in the regular season, but when these two teams meet in the playoffs, the Phillies get the better of them. They've done that the last 2 years in the NLDS, beating them out in 2022 and 2023. So I don't think the Phillies minded at all that the Braves may win the division. Obviously the Phillies would love to win the division, but hey, they get the last laugh, and that's what matters to them. And I think that's a key thing, but I feel like they just got better this year. I feel like another year on some of these guys, a second year of Turner in a Phillies uniform, Stott's third year. Like, we're really talking about what could be a very strong Phillies team once again. FanDuel has the over-under at 89.5, and it's a strong line. They definitely could just drop one less game than 90 and, still be a wild card team, still be in it. But I think the Phillies could be in it. I think they're going to be chasing the Braves for that division potentially. And going forward, I think the Phillies are going to have a strong 2024 and win 90 games. I will take the over on that, or at least 90 games. But definitely taking the over on the Phillies. They're going to have a good year. Expect them in the playoffs come October. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to today's TOP. And that wraps up today. 28 down, 2 to go. The last two teams, the Braves and the Dodgers, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that wraps up our TOPs. Spring breakout games are today. That's something that starts, February, March 14th. What is it? Pirates in Baltimore already today. Paul Skeens, Jackson Holiday. That's a fun one. Check out some baseball. Spring breakout. Baseball's gonna be hot, man. Let's do it. Oh, I'm excited. Thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you next time.